Alright, let's continue our discussion about the development curve file. And let's take a look at the configuration tab. So what we have here is essentially the prefix or schema for the data warehouse tables, which will be DBO. We also got the prefix for the dimension tables defined as dim, and for the fact tables as fact. And we also can see the custom metadata option, which is completely beyond the scope in this training. Now in the Generate and Deploy tab, we can see 4 path locations. Basically, these locations will hold all templates. Templates such as the generation templates, which will hold all the code deployed, the path for the providers, that will also be created by the module, and the audit templates as well. Now going to the Batch tab, we can see here the location where my task execution provider and batch workflow will be deployed. But the most important thing I wanted to point out here is that you don't need to change these locations, either here in the Batch tab and in the Generate and Deploy tab. So concurrent tasks essentially show us the exact number of SSIS packages the module will run in parallel during a batch execution. This improves performance on computers and servers, and it makes SSIS packages to execute faster. And as we can see, the default here is 4 concurrent tasks, but we can change this number if necessary. So the model architect creates the staging database and data warehouse as we know by now. But in addition to the staging database and data warehouse, the model architect will also create a default database called Batch, which will be deployed in the same server or SQL instance where the data warehouse will be deployed. And what the Batch database does is to log pretty much everything that occurs during a batch execution. And by the way, we can change the name of this database here to whatever name we like. Alright, the last thing I wanted to mention about is the test and production curve files. They are no different from one another. The only difference between these curve files is that one is for development, another one is for test, and another one is for production environment, as I mentioned before. And we can also create additional curve files or import existing ones by right-clicking on Configuration Files, and we have the option here to create a new one or import a new one. These curve files will also come in handy in case we needed to deploy the same staging database and data warehouse to different customers. For example, let's say you needed to deploy the same data warehouse structure to all your customers, but in separate servers. Well, with the Model Architect, you can do that, and we can simply create a replica of the development curve file or production curve file. Then we would rename that replica, and we would import it here. And the next thing we would have to do is to change the name of the server. We would rename the staging database, the data warehouse, and even the batch database if we would need it to. I tell you what, I will show you an example later on in this training. So let's wrap up this video here, and I will see you folks in the next one.